A self-managed superannuation fund is a special kind of superannuation fund that's designed for between 1 and 4 members, where all of those members act as trustee of the fund, and so they are in control of their own superannuation. If you set one up, you're responsible for running the fund in accordance with all the rules and regulations, in particular the taxation law and superannuation law, and you are also responsible for reporting to the regulator, the ATO, on the fund's operation. But if you're willing to do that and operate within the rules, then you can actually access some very unique opportunities and strategies that just aren't available in other kinds of superannuation funds. I guess an SMSF is best suited to those kinds of people who really like to exercise control over their investments and would like to exercise control over their superannuation, and also those who are willing to take on that responsibility to act as trustee. And certainly there's lots of support around to help you to do that. I think some of the main reasons that people would establish an SMSF and run their own fund are some of these unique opportunities that I talked about. So things like particular taxation advantages. Because you're running your own fund, you can structure it in particular ways to really take advantage of some of the taxation benefits that are available. So accessing investments that offer imputation credits and things like that, and making sure they go to the right people in the fund, being able to buy assets while you're in accumulation phase, while you're still working, that have potential for large capital gains, and then if you hold on to those assets right through to pension phase when you're retired, and then when you start drawing an income from the fund, you then sell those assets. You can actually sell them tax-free. So you avoid capital gains tax in that instance quite legally. So being able to have control over when assets are bought and sold is another real desire for SMSF trustees. Then there's lots of investment flexibility in terms of what we can invest in, and in fact SMSF trustees can even borrow to buy assets, buy property in particular, which is a big advantage. And they can also pool their money together, which isn't available in other kinds of retail and industry funds. So the members of the fund could pool together to buy a large asset outright that they might not otherwise be able to do. So there's a number of questions that I would ask myself to determine whether you were the right person to run a self-managed superannuation fund. First of all, do you want to have control over your fund's investments, or are you willing to, ask for that support from someone and get a really good trusted advisor and pay for that support? Also, are you prepared to run the fund strictly for retirement purposes? Because whilst you have control of your own superannuation fund, you still must manage that fund in accordance with the law. And the law says that the money is preserved there until you retire at a particular age. So you can't run the fund for other purposes or for any current day benefit. So you must be aware of that and happy with that. Then, do you have an appropriate amount of money to start a self-managed superannuation fund? Because there's a number of fixed costs in running a superannuation fund, the more money you have to start with, then the lower the relative cost is, I guess. So we're looking usually at around $150,000 to $200,000. But that said, if you're able to get a particularly well-performing superannuation fund, then even though your assets might be slightly lower to start with, a slightly higher cost relative to a higher performing asset, is horses for courses. So it's what you're prepared to go for. But as your assets get greater, certainly you'll see the administration costs reduce. And then you would need to look at how comfortable you are with moving your super from other kinds of superannuation funds into a self-managed fund. Other funds may offer insurance benefits and those kinds of things. So you need to be comfortable that you can obtain those same sorts of benefits through your self-managed fund, which usually is possible. And in fact, usually we can do even better through our self-managed super fund, but we just need to be aware of that. And some advice around that area is usually really important. And finally, do you have the time and the interest and the ability to establish and run a fund and maintain it in accordance with the law? And this is where a really good support network comes into play. So having a really great advisor, a really great accountant, and a fantastic administration service. So someone like Intelligent Super that can keep track of all of those contributions, all of the assets that are purchased, all of the income coming in, all of the expenses that need to be paid, and look after their taxation and other kinds of reporting requirements, can really ease your load and reduce that burden of responsibility in a sense. Although you can't abrogate your responsibility as a trustee, to have someone there that's taking care of business and who you can bounce things off when you're looking at an investment decision is really important. But overall, lots of opportunities.